will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Oh, Miss Rusty, what is up, everybody? It is Thursday. It is Thursday today. So, welcome, everyone. I didn't do a show yesterday, so I still feel like it's Wednesday. Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here in year 11. Too many years, with me being, of course, 27 or something right now, years old. And thank you, everyone, for being here and listening. And if you are here and you're watching and you're going, oh, I don't want to look at this guy's face, just go over to anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can listen there. Or if you're listening on the podcast and you say, I wonder what this guy looks like, you can check it out on YouTube or Rumble or whatever here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. And it is time to bring on my special guest. And I have my special guest right here, right now. And my special guest right here, right now is Pete Waggoner. How you doing, Pete?
I'm awesome, Rusty. How about you?
I'm doing great. I have not
Hypnoticized, as Jack Black said in School of Rock. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, get everyone on the right track right away. And yeah, I haven't seen you for it's probably been like 4 years or something, somewhere in there, probably around there. But yeah, I very much appreciated you bringing me on when I went out to Minnesota, and I really enjoyed getting to work with you out there and do those shows and be there to call the action with you. That was a lot of fun. I'm happy you're still going with it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks for jumping on there. Of course, I think we're doing Midwest Wrestling's Elite, I think, with Danny Duggan
Yeah.
back in the day. So he and I, we dared to be different, and we did a little offshoot from Steel the Main Wrestling. And I kind of wanted to get into promotion because we had done these things at the Hopkins Pavilion where we had some really big houses. The 7 Levels of Hate with Cabana and Pierce were going on. Ed Hellier,
okay.
of course. I mean, the guy's a legend in the local promotions here in Minnesota. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I wanted to take a swing at it and see what I would do. That did make Ed very happy, by the way. He didn't want the competition, but you came around, and it was so cool because there was, we were trying to get people that weren't in Minnesota all the time at our cards and our events.
Oh, yeah.
And so Danny is so well versed. Of course, he's with CWE. That's how we came with Midwest Wrestling's Elite to kind of like make it more Americanized and make it sort of regional as opposed to just one state, one area, one town. And you popped in, and I think you were injured at the time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And maybe you were doing maybe some reffing, if I remember. And but
yeah.
more just announcing. And so then you and I jumped on and did some productions together, which was really fun.
Yeah, it was great. And there's a couple things I want to point out. So with that 7 Levels of Hate, there was one of them, which was it was in Portland and or near Portland, and there was a promotion. They did one of the 7 Levels of Hate there, and I believe that Adam Pierce and Cole Cabana, they both decided to like scrap that whole day of whatever number that was and make another. So I think that I don't think that was number 7, but I think they ended up being like, okay, we're gonna have to go somewhere else to work on that.
Yeah,
But
we were level 3, and
okay.
it was an I quit match, and
All right.
it was absolutely terrific. We had a good house. It was really hot day. It was around the 4th of July, and it was incredibly humid, and that building had no air. The people stuck around for it, and just their whole match was brilliant. It was the first event that I'd ever been on a mic for, and
Oh, okay.
I did it with the legendary Mick Karch, who I have the utmost respect for. He is just the greatest. And we had a great time. And then from there, we just sort of leapfrog. So what had happened really, um, just full transparency. We wanted to do a fundraiser for
Okay.
the local Hopkins Youth Hockey Association. And I've loved professional wrestling since I was little. I used to work my church, my mass schedule around all-star wrestling in the AWA. And so I
That's a
wanted
good
to
way
do
to
it
do it.
because I had seen this stuff was going on. And at the time, Buck Zumoff was doing his thing. And I just felt a little not right about that situation. It was a sixth sense. Nothing was really known about it.
At that time?
No, about him or any of that. But the
Yep.
follow up, the follow through, it was just, dusty. And I'm saying I don't like it. So then I
Yep.
started saying, well, who the hell does this in this market that I could work with? And then I stumbled across Steel Domain Wrestling, which used to be St. Paul Championship Wrestling. Oh, I knew that. And Ed Hellier. And I went to his website, and that thing looked like it hadn't been updated in about 3.5 years. And this is
Sure.
2012. This is 12. And so I'm like, I'll give this Ed guy a call and see what's going on. So I called him. He goes, well, I'm really trying to get out of it. And I only do certain things. It was a guaranteed show too. I mean, we cut a pretty good check because we wanted talent. And he's like, I can put together a good card for whatever number it was. And I'm like, yeah, we want more than that. And so then that's where he started bringing in Cabana, started bringing in Pierce. We brought in Honky. That was the Honky talk, man. That was great.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he even moved in the ring at the time because he was kind of later in the career, but it didn't matter. It was just he
It
was
did.
there.
Yep.
So
It hit someone.
we did that whole thing where we had Dan Jesser, love the guy, he was part of it. The Baron von Raschke put the claw on him in a promo. It was good. And I just enjoyed the whole scene of watching people enjoy the event. And I've been in
Yep.
production, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but I've always been all about um, live streaming. I started in the Wild West in '06 when you could barely get the video up through
Right.
the network, let alone you at home getting it down. Like, so people were getting these high school hockey games where they'd be like, blip, and it would freeze. Blip. They go, this is the greatest. I'm like, is it really? Like, okay, you're watching it. But, at that time,
Yeah.
you had to do everything for free just because if you didn't, people would just bitch and they'd want their money back, So then
Right.
they could bitch all they want, and I didn't care because then it would be like, oh, okay, just fine. So I had this production background, and when I went to Ed, I'm like, I'd like to film this thing. And he goes, well, I haven't done much of that for a while, but because he was doing just basic bookings.
Yeah.
So we brought out my gear. I had some really good. I had a TriCaster at the time, which was like real heady stuff, for
Uh,
production and all sorts. I had all the multi-cams and all the whole thing, and it went well. And I said to Ed, if you ever want to do stuff, I'd love to produce your video for you. I'd love to do some more of this. And back when he had the Punk and the Austin Aries and everybody else that was coming through Steel Domain Wrestling, Ace Steel, of
yep.
course, the namesake there. Um, they basically were doing it out of the West St. Paul Armory. I was
Uh,
I had little kids and wasn't even bothering with it at the time. But when I went back over the tape after we did this, what I felt was kind of historic, sort of like resuscitating show at the time.
Yeah.
Dad said, "Hey, let's do it." And I'm not saying that we at Hopkins Hockey or me or Ed decided to do it. He decided to say, "I'll go back. Let's go." And I'm looking at this video of the talent that was there. I was like, "Oh my God, this is the triple A of triple A, like who had been through Steel the Main and done the things they had done." So
Yeah.
it was at that point where he ended up securing the Richfield American Legion on Portland
Okay.
Avenue, and we were there once a month. It was
Oh,
Rusty. You've been
nice.
in a lot of facilities, I'm sure, and like this was the perfect. You could fit about 250, 225, 250 standing.
That's
There was
great.
a bar on the end of the wall, which was perfect, so people were getting lit, and the energy was really good. It was
Yeah.
like a A-frame building with a stage, so we put like a ramp in there. I mean,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I think if I remember, we got the room for nothing. We didn't have to rent it because it was the food and beverage bill that was so large that was
Oh,
offsetting it. Now, I think the people at the
perfect.
Legion weren't overly thrilled by that and felt like they're being taken,
Yeah.
but they were moving a lot of product. That's all I'll say. So there
Yeah.
became a really
Wow.
nice surge off of that. So then the following year, we did a cage match at the pavilion. I think our house was close to 950. It was a really, really good house.
Oh,
It crushed. And that was Ace Steel and Pierce.
okay.
So good. I don't know where
Holy shit.
Cole Cabana was, but those two tore it up. Like they were pillar to post all over the building. The beer gardens got crushed. It was great. Steele came out with this kid's youth hockey Hopkins sweater on, jersey.
Nice.
So just you'd say cheap heat, but quite the opposite. Total
Yeah.
baby. It was beautiful. God, those guys really gave it up. It was so good. So then Mick and I were just kind of crushing along, and then that's when I decided, Danny and I were saying, we could do some things differently here. Why don't we try a promotion? So that's when we started our promotion and said, let's give it a go. So I did like 9 shows. It didn't go great because I have this streaming business and this other thing that I was working on. And
Yeah.
Nikita Koloff, love the man. Met him as he was one of our superstar special appearance guys. Our second show with MWE.
Oh,
We're having a lunch, and he said, "Are you a promoter?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I promote wrestling." He goes, "Are you a promoter?" And I said, "Well," I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Is it your life? Do you do everything for it to fill that building? Do you really, really, really care?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." He goes, "You're an unreal producer. You're a video guy. You're a producer. That's what you are. Do what you do best." I'll tell you what. I get a text from him every day. I'm on a little chain that has really inspirational, spiritually driven messages that some are, for goals and motivations. Some are for your faith. Some are, they all have different meanings, but there's one a day and you look forward to it. I mean, that's been going on since like 2017, 2018. You
whoa.
get these things. So he's incredibly dedicated, but he was incredibly truthful to me. And so then it was at that point where I just bowed out because he was right. And that was great advice from him. So
Yeah.
that's my story into how like you weaved into mine and I was trying to make it go. I think about it now often where I think I could kind of go at it, but it's such a different business and different world. You've got to
Yeah.
really, really put the time into it to make it work. You can't just throw a poster up and hope someone's going to show up ever.
Yeah. So was that last show the one with him with
No, that was my second. My
where
first
was
my first one
okay.
was at the Rock in St. Louis Park that featured Arn Anderson.
Okay.
He was there and he put on a clinic to open up the so there are a lot of guys from around the area that came and worked with him. and he was still, I believe, with the WWE at the time.
And so was Arn living up that way then, or did
No,
you bring
I
him?
think he was in Greenville. I think
Okay,
that's where he was. So he came up. He flew in the day of and flew out the day of. Just, but he did his thing, and he was great. So, yeah, I mean, it was awesome. So that was a really nice start, and then just thought we'd keep going with it. So
yeah, yeah. So then it must have been someone else that was. What was that place? It was like an outdoor pavilion, and they brought him in. Probably, maybe I don't know, early 2020, maybe early late 2019, and I
was it
maybe
Nikita?
it, yeah, it was
Yeah,
Nikita, like out in
yeah. That
maybe
you know what?
Rich.
Maybe that was. I think he did come to two of mine.
Yeah.
I think he did come to two. Now that I think about it, yeah, you were at the. That was coming toward the end for sure, and that was after we had the talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and yeah, great guy. He was really really nice and yeah, easy to talk with, and that
I
was
mean,
pretty cool.
his story is really remarkable. When he shares it, it's
Yeah,
really. I won't share it here because it's his to tell, but just how he got into the business, how it all worked, how he got to Charlotte, and went from there. And then that guy, he came out of nowhere, and this part I'll share. He just skyrocketed, and I'm not so sure if the room was really thrilled about that.
yeah,
Because who's this guy? But he had all of the things you needed him to do. What was so interesting about him was if he was going to be Ivan Koloff's nephew, he's supposed to be a bad guy because he's Russian. But he
right.
had such a friendly demeanor about him, and he was so big that you kind of liked him. And so then they babied him like in 2 seconds, just because I think of just how he was and how he portrayed.
Yeah. And there's some people like that that it's just you notice it and it's like, oh, okay, this is you can tell like, oh, this is like a really nice guy, and I don't know how people are gonna hate him. And like, but I mean, yeah, as long as they notice and they're like, okay, this is something we gotta kind of gotta switch up. But
Okay,
yeah, it's
can
just
I give you the sorry, so I host podcasts and shows. So if it seems like I'm just talking nonstop, Rusty, I'm sorry.
I love it. That
Okay.
that means I'm that means you're
You're a good
doing
host.
your
Yeah.
job.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. If
Well,
my guest is talking, I'm happy.
so the Danny Duggan thing, Hotshot Danny Duggan, my first exposure to him was that first Hopkins show. Ed
Okay.
goes, yeah, we got this kid coming from, well, he wasn't really a kid, but younger guy coming from Winnipeg, and he's bringing a couple guys down. And he brought AJ Larock, AJ Sanchez Larock with him too. AJ is incredible as
Yeah.
well. Mentolo, those three, they one after the other, he'd bring down, and it was awesome. But when he got there, he had the flu or something, and he was sick, and he was throwing up, and we were like, "How's this gonna work?" That guy absolutely gave it up. Went a solid 2025, not feeling well at all. And I think, that was at the point where it's like, okay, this guy is a legit worker. Doesn't matter what the situation was, he found a way. And I think he's I don't know, I don't know if many people really talk about him, but I think he's one of the most underrated performers that's never really been anything more than maybe enhancement talent on some house shows or some AEW things here and there, a security guard type thing. But you look at him and you go, man, that guy should be somewhere. He's just that good.
Yeah, and he was getting brought everywhere. I mean, yeah, I'd see him in all along the West Coast. Like
Portland really big there, right?
yeah, really big in Portland, and he'd come and do shows up in Vancouver pretty often, and just I mean, that's a drive. That's or a flight. Like I think it was getting flown into Portland. I'm not sure about into Vancouver. I don't know. And then I think he was doing those or at least one time did the the Northern Hell tour with what's that guy's name? Why am I totally blanking on it? The guy from Winnipeg. I can't think of his name. but he'd do it when he'd run these, like, I think it's like 2 weeks, and just do these shows um up
On a
there.
day. They maybe take a day off. They do one a day and they go on these tours.
Yeah,
He was a big believer in that. I think he felt like it was okay. We're gonna get some momentum on a tour, and we're just gonna go all through Western Canada and hammer that out. And he and I had always threatened to do that in Minnesota, where we went up the 94 interstate corridor from the Twin Cities out and hit all the towns off the interstate
whoa.
there. And we even talked about doing a couple one-offs this year. We keep in touch quite a bit. So I may do a one-off just for fun, just because it's fun. But like, to me, why would I do a one-off if I wasn't going to do it for real? I mean, to really do it. So,
Where would you want to run it if you did a one-off though?
if I were to do a one-off, perfect case scenario for me would be a place like Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Probably they've got this thing called Yanmar Arena, named after the
Oh,
tractors. It's a great area. It's in the Iron Range, and there's a number of communities there. It's underserved from this perspective, and
okay.
I love the venue. It reminds me of the Hopkins Pavilion where we did it there, and I think we could get some energy. So if I were to run a one-off, it would be right there, Yadbar Arena, Grand Rapids,
How far is that from the Twin
three
Cities?
hours north of the Twin Cities.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be great up there. Uh, and then plus with so many people, it was really cool there too with you know, uh people like Mick, or some of those other guys that were around there, that were around in the AWA years, hearing their stories. And I don't know if that's as much still. I don't know. I feel like it was one of the more territory, or one of the territories where there's more um people who were around back in the territory days, who are still around, and getting to come out every so often.
It's interesting regarding that. I kind of think I know where you're going with it, but it sparked this thought. As far as the territories go, obviously I grew up on those. And I used to get all the wrestling magazines, and I used to enjoy seeing what was going on in the other ones and who was getting pushed and who wasn't, and all of that. Who was the heel, who wasn't. And then when they come into ours, now what are they doing with them? What's the gimmick there? So
Yeah,
I felt as though since the AWA was weird because it was really hot in Twin Cities, where I am, Winnipeg, Chicago. And then of course it had Oakland, San Francisco area, and all the other areas that were a part of it. Some crossover stuff with Tommy Rich and those guys down in Tennessee, but mostly it was those three areas. And of it, it seemed like the hottest was the Twin Cities for some reason.
yeah,
And if you take the NWA and its vastness, and it was so weird because the NWA was almost like it's had these like sub regions. Okay, so you had Georgia Championship that did their thing, and then you had Florida that did their thing, and it was just sort of like they were their own brands within the brand. Whereas with the AWA, it was just the AWA, and it's really odd because when you think about when it was the WWF, they were super regional. Like, I mean, the furthest west they would go would maybe be Toronto, Detroit, maybe, and then
yeah.
everything is pretty much northeast. So they had this like where the population density was, but their territory wasn't like massively large. And then you had the whole like Texas. By the way, have you seen the movie?
I have not. I'm waiting for it to.
Oh, you're going cheapo. You don't want the theater experience. You're that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right,
I
right.
I, I
Okay.
almost did. It was playing, and it's not playing anymore. I was gonna go actually, but yeah, no, I'm just gonna go the cheapo route. And how'd you like it?
I haven't seen it. My buddy saw
Oh,
it,
okay.
and well, when we get into what I do, too busy to carve out the time to go. But I'm waiting for the old Netflix angle too, or wherever it may pop up. I'm sure it'll get out there in distribution pretty quick. So, but I heard it was excellent. And what stood out to him was how good the wrestling was because they used wrestlers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know who did MJF play, do you know?
I think he played one of the brothers. I'm not sure which
Yeah.
brother it was. Um, so that means he probably died in the movie.
Oh.
That's an interesting thing. I I don't know.
Yeah, well, so back on my
Yeah, I don't want
territorial
to. I
thing.
don't want to
So yeah,
spoil
yeah,
any.
yeah. So back on the territorial thing, it just seemed as though the legacy of the AWA carries on. I say carries, not carried on longer than any of the others. Um, More because it was more local. It was more hours. It wasn't TBS's when it all got to there. It wasn't the Sportatorium on ESPN. It was through the 70s and like to 84. It was uniquely, well, even before then, but it was, 60, 50, 60s. It was uniquely ours. And people really related to the various people. Nick Bockwinkel was incredibly, and Mick Karch, so fond of him as a good friend back in the day. God rest his soul, of course. He was very engaged in the community, in life insurance sales and some financial stuff, and he was very very good at it. And so very likable. So he had a huge client base. I don't think he struggled. But I think it was you worked for the New England was who he worked for at the time. But yeah, I mean it's definitely a thing where the connectivity to it here is very real. And the people that are still around to talk about it, because Mick Karch has an AWA page on Facebook, which I think it's AWA Fans Unleashed or something like that. He does a
Okay.
podcast with a couple of guys that used to do production. Polish Joe, of course, you probably heard his name. Great guy. They're
Yeah.
part of the a podcast where they kind of rehash it, and I don't think anybody really gets sick of the old stories.
No.
So
Yeah. I'll have to definitely check that out. That's cool. I think maybe I saw something then just a lot
yeah,
have
it's
happened and forgot.
well, you should check it out because if you just like to like look at like or Mick Karsh will do these 24-hour polls. He'll he'll
Oh,
he'll
okay.
he'll put two names. He'd do Ken Patera or Mr. Saito, and you'd have to pick and just pick no comments. Of course, people have to go full commentary. It's like, shut up. He just
Right.
wants to pick. So get your own damn show.
Yeah.
Um, so
Great engagement.
right. Sorry, I'm battling a cold here. I hope I hit the mute button on you there because that was
You're good.
electric. That cough would have blown your ears out, man. Uh,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's been the vibe there, and the AWA still has its remnants of fossils such as myself in their mid 50s and older that still dig it, and it's cool, and as far as legacies go, I think it's important to realize like how important those territories were to what we have today. I mean, there's no such thing as a territory anymore, at least on the larger scale. But when you get down to indies and there's plenty of it, it's all territory, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Totally. Still territory, and yeah. I mean, it's weird now. Going to different places, going place in the West, and then going out to Minnesota. I got the Minnesota, but then that's kind of like with the Winnipeg territory coming through, and then went out um, to Utah, and then had that territory down there with like the Arizona and Nevada, and then went out to Connecticut and
Do
had
you
all that.
do you find as though when you went from all those territories from territory to territory where these indie shows were going, were things done differently or was it all the same? What was your take on that?
Same thing everywhere, and it's odd, just different people, but then it's kind of it feels the same. You're like you're saying, you go into the same sort of uh I've probably been in every single kind of fraternal organization there is, in more places than I'd like to count. Um, or that there's, or gyms, or whatever the places they're doing it. But I feels I felt the same. I've had a few where I'll do a show or two and then switch it up, and because yeah, it kind of varies different places, where best to fit in. But yeah, it just feels like different. Then yeah.
Can you explain? So obviously, I'm sure a lot of people have seen wrestlers, the Al Snow series
Oh yeah.
on Netflix. Terrific. I think anybody that's been in and around it. I mean, his was a little bit better with OVW, because it that was a little larger scale, I'd say. Maybe being in developmental territory in the beginning, and there's a little more to it than your average show, let's say.
Yeah.
But when you know what everybody's getting paid and the prices they pay to get paid, what is it about guys and women that get into professional wrestling, and they all pay a heck of a price? Tell me about that love and why they do it.
I mean, I've heard people say that if you go golfing, you have to pay whatever $100 to go golfing, and you do
Sure.
that every weekend. With wrestling, you're not, maybe you're making a few hot dogs and maybe a handshake or two, maybe a little more, but for the most part, yeah, it's not gonna be. You're getting to do it for free, but you're
Yeah,
paying
so
for it
you're
with.
getting a few bucks for what you do. If you can merch it up, you can
Right.
do really well if you've got a great personality, and but you're doing something that you love and there is a check for it. You're just not getting wealthy on it. So I've always wondered, I've marveled at it because the dedication and the passion to the business with everybody involved. And I don't think people that do this, especially in the indie scene, they're not delusional to where they
Right.
think I'm going to make it someday. I think they think, you know what, I'm going to make it where I'm at. And then you just kind of go from there, and it's really incremental. And I think it's really cool, to be honest with you. And if you're an entrepreneur like I am, it is
Me too.
really cool to see that people are able to have a passion and put the checkbook aside and go deliver on it every time, whether they're feeling great or not feeling great. And I think that's the greatest part about the business that goes untold.
Yeah, and there's, like you're saying, with merch and stuff too. I have a buddy who was just on a week or two ago who makes merch for anything you can think of, and just I love it. I love the DIY and the entrepreneur spirit of professional wrestling, to just bring along a bag, print whatever on whatever, throw it in your bag, throw it out on the merch table, and make a few bucks, make some people happy. And it's a cool thing. I really enjoy getting to see how people are getting creative with that too, and all the new things they can sell.
Were you at our show with Jimmy Jacobs?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So he comes rolling, and by the way, he was invaluable. Um, he was so good as far as what are we doing here? What are we accomplishing? What are we? What's the flow of each match? How are they coming together? He and Danny were really incredible. I just was a little bit of a fly on the wall, just going, "Wow, they're booking this thing incredible." But he comes walking in, with how you have your luggage on the wheels.
Yep, the stripper bag,
This gets
as I call it. Yeah.
exactly. He comes in with the stripper bag, and he uncorks this merch thing, and he finishes up. He closes his bag. He goes, "I sold everything I got. This has been a great night." And so I'm like, God, I paid him a lot to come in. So I mean, he turned that into a huge night, just because his merch was awesome and he did it right. And what doesn't hurt that you have some name recognition too. But that's when it really it clicked with me, like, okay, each individual performer, each individual person is their own brand, and they rep their brand in the ring, and then they rep it out of the ring, and then they rep it to the public. And the ones that do it really well do really well.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I love seeing it, and it's great having friends who are great at designing, and then but then that's keeping them busy then too with a lot of the wrestlers, like the ones who are really good at graphic design, just going, oh man, that's such a cool shirt you have going. Get me
Or
one of
backdrop
those.
in your case. Look at that thing.
Or
Yeah.
thanks. uh, yeah, it's really cool. It's cool getting and it's a lot of creative people. I mean, a lot of creative people put together in one spot, and also with on the production side, there's a lot of different levels of production in a show, and good production is something that is I can really be overlooked sometimes. I don't know um if it's but I don't know. I mean, they can put things on a whole different level. Like, you can have wrestling that's not great but have great production, and that can make a product worthwhile.
100%.
um
100%. I mean, there's you bring up a really good point. There's a guy, Eric Nordum, that I worked with Heavy On Wrestling crew up in Duluth. He always demanded that the productions go a little bit further and have a little bit more. Because a lot of times you're just doing it to get it done and getting it up and out there.
yeah,
But he always had a little bit of a higher ceiling that he was looking to get to, or bar, if you will. And the product definitely reflected that, and it looked much more pro. And I think a lot of it just depends upon what kind of where what kind of budget do you want to use? Because what people don't really understand is that production isn't free. Someone's either got to run the camera, or in my case, purchase the automated camera, install it on the wall, and either way, it's money. So you got to pay the
right,
person to run it. You got to have the camera that you're going to run, or that's automated, whatever you're doing. Then you have to have the art and talented people to put together the graphical pictures that you're storytelling. Then you got to have the talent on the mic. Then you got to have a director that's switching cameras and communicating effectively. And if you're really going to do it, you're getting into a 5, 8, 10, 12 person crew. That starts costing more than what you're paying, almost equal to what you're paying the talent in the ring. And
absolutely,
so then you go, okay, well, these are two things going on here. And, we obviously want the in-ring product to be the best it can be. So if you're going to be cutting anything, you're going to start cutting down the production. And then
yeah.
it's a chicken or egg, in my opinion, because the better the production, the better. Oh, let's talk about that for a second. Which production do you prefer better, WWE or AEW, to view? I have an answer. I want to hear
uh
yours.
well, I would pick, because I don't like uh the the impact moving of the camera, and that was the only reason, that would be the reason why I would pick AEW over WWE. But I mean, otherwise, just like full production, I probably go the other way. But I just, that camera, I like the setup of the AEW one,
I
and it seems very old, like what's in my head, how I want to see wrestling,
Right.
and that's how they
I
do it.
agree. So it's a real, to the naked eye, I think it's a real subtle thing, but I think it's realistic because when you watch a WWE production, it is literally calculated from point A to point Z at the end of the night. Every shot, every reaction, it's so, I would almost say canned and pre-produced. It feels like it's almost so forced in a weird way. It feels unnatural, to the viewer.
And
Whereas
cinematic.
it's cinematic, correct, and just like it feels that way. You go to an AEW deal, it's not that it's on the fly. Got a cough.
Okay.
It's not. It's not that it's on the fly, but it certainly feels as though there's some human element and creativity to the productions, I think, and
Yeah.
it plays to what you said, where there's some more like dramatic moments that are more authentically captured from what I
Right.
feel. And
Yeah.
so I felt all along from the early going like, ooh, this is what I'm looking for. And for me as a viewer, it becomes so much more watchable.
Yeah.
And it's probably, I don't know, maybe the cost is a little bit cheaper for AEW. It's not as programmed and forced as it is with the WWE, from what I can tell.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you there. And I mean, just for how many years been watching wrestling, like it's weird to have this. I mean, maybe if you're just coming on and start watching wrestling in the last 5, 10 years, and that's what you're used to, the whole different scape of how everything's gonna look, then it might be appealing. But I mean, it makes my head hurt when I'm watching it, and I can't watch it for too long.
I'm
Um,
with you there. I agree 100%.
yeah,
It's hard.
yeah. Um,
It shouldn't be. It should feel you shouldn't have to work at viewing something. But
right.
with all of that said, and everything we're saying, what do we know? Because the stock is always worth tons, and they kill the numbers, and there's a huge group of society that loves the production and what they're getting, and that's awesome. It's just not specifically for me.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean now like even because yeah, WrestleMania is gonna be in Philadelphia here in a few months, and I was like debating about going, and I'm like, I don't really want to go that
Do you
much.
do you prefer this is one? Do you prefer Survivor Series over Mania?
I prefer Royal Rumble over both.
Okay.
I
Actually, that's what I wanted to refer to. My mistake.
okay.
Yeah, do you
Yeah,
prefer the Rumble over Mania?
I don't like knowing any of the entrants or what they're who's gonna be there. I wish that part wasn't like when even like a number one, maybe I'm number one, number 30, but like I like the surprise of each one. I don't want to know, oh, here's
No,
so and so coming in, and
no, no, no. That ruins the fun,
yeah,
doesn't it?
but yeah, I think so. And I mean, yeah, but I don't know. Yeah,
It's amazing when you think about it, though. Think about the very first WrestleMania that came out was like one among every. There's some other stadium rocket wrestling things, and we had the Ric Flair, Kerry Von Erich thing in Texas Stadium with a helicopter through the
right,
opening there. Like that
yeah,
stuff was kind of happening, and then this was sort of felt as though on the WrestleMania one, that it was really their attempt to say, okay, we're going to start taking this a little bit deeper. I don't know if anybody would say from that one event, it would become almost a Super Bowl of professional wrestling like it does. That creates so much interest and so much discussion on a pop cultural basis. Who would have thought all these years later that would be true?
yeah. Or the fact that you can have a whole week leading up to it full of a bunch of other people piggybacking on the event to have their own events. And like I heard someone say that I forgot what year it was, but like that they ran like the same day as WrestleMania and still drew a bunch just because like I don't know, I don't think it could be done. Like if you're going against WrestleMania in the same town where WrestleMania is happening, probably a few blocks away, and
It's the
still
old gas
drawing.
station theory, right? I mean, everybody wants to have the gas station on the same corner because that's where they're coming to get the gas. So they're going to your store or our store. If that store is full, you're going to come to ours.
Yeah,
So
and
that's probably what it is. You go where the fans, you go where the gas buyers are. Oh, what do we have there?
yeah, that's Leon.
Leon,
Leon,
what's up, buddy?
Leon. Yeah,
Look at Leon.
there he is.
Love it.
Yeah,
So how do you how
figured.
do you come up with the name Leon for your cat? What was that? What's that all about?
Oh, geez. Okay. So when I was living in Salt Lake City, it was, well, I have another cat named Shithead. So that might tell you something.
Where's shithead? Get shithead on the set.
Yeah, where is Shithead? Shitty. He's probably taking a little
That's
nap
the
or
nickname,
something.
shitty.
Yep, all shitty. And so if kids are around, like
Okay.
trying to yell shithead or shitty out there, or kids ask what's the cat's name, we had to start saying the cat's name is Shed because it sounds like
Or
shithead
shithead,
enough.
shed.
Shed, like shed. And but so Leon, we let's see. It was, yeah, we are in Salt Lake City and it was uh they were running a deal at the pound for 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 Black History Month. All the black animals were free. So
Seriously.
seriously, I don't know. So yeah,
Awesome. So
so
you pick up
yeah,
Leon.
yeah, picked up Leon. Was really into
Was Leon named at the point?
yeah, he was
Oh,
named
so you inherited the name Leon.
I know I changed it.
Oh, okay, okay.
His name was Jack. He had a sister there, and it was Jack and Jill. But I changed his name to
Nice.
Leon. I was into Curb Your Enthusiasm, and
Oh, yeah.
there's a character Leon
Yeah.
Leon in the show, and so that was what he was named after. So
Got it. Okay, well done.
yeah,
Well done.
yeah. So that was it was a nice thing to get. One of the yeah, Salt Lake City was an interesting place, but I'm happy that I got Leon there. But
By the way, just an interesting piece on Salt Lake City that I noticed. The owners of the Jazz have sent a letter to the National Hockey League wanting to get an expansion, literally go through the expansion franchise steps.
oh
And the NHL didn't say no, and I mean, they didn't say yes either. But that process is ongoing, and so they've obviously got the Jazz. They want to get the hockey team, and I think they've got a few other things going on there. They're really trying to turn that into a Vegas East a little bit from a sports perspective. So I thought you'd appreciate that with your roots there.
yeah, they're trying to get the Oakland A's baseball team too, is what I heard just a day or two ago.
What happened with Vegas? Did I miss that one didn't
Oh
happen?
yeah, Vegas might still be getting it, but I heard that Salt Lake was still interested in it too. So I don't know if it was
Wow,
for certain or not, but yeah, they had a hockey team there
Eagles. Is
in
that what they were?
oh no, in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. What were they? What was their nickname? AHL. They were a top NHL minor league group.
Oh, I
The
saw the Grizzlies.
Utah Grizz. Okay.
The
Yeah.
Grizz, yeah.
The
Yep.
Grizzlies. Yeah, that's right. Um, so anyway, so from that perspective, nice to see that community is becoming a big league market, which is awesome. And it takes one. If you do well with it, I think you can prove yourselves to the other sports groups to try to bring in more. So,
Yeah.
uh, from the perspective of like, where did things go with me in terms of after my discussion with Nikita Koloff, it wasn't, I was already doing this and he brought this up. I'd been streaming hockey since 2006 here in Minnesota. And I had done a bunch of iterations. I'd started a website called mnhockeyhub.com, which is for high school, which was eventually it was purchased from the Star Tribune from the group that owned the URL that really created it, but I was the founder, the mind behind it. And then I did a thing called myfoxhockey.com with the local Channel 9 Fox affiliate, where we would stream those games that nobody could get and nobody could see and we couldn't get up, but everybody seemed to love it anyway. I did
Yeah.
that for like 5 years from 06 to 11. And then decided to really focus in on the live streaming scenario and start turning it pay-per-view from free because free doesn't make you money. And, unless you're doing hundreds of millions of views, you're not going to make any ad dollars on impressions. So don't kid yourself. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So pay-per-view to me was the way to go. And so it was a slow growth into that. But one of the things that I would do is I would go to these local teams in our area and say, hey, we'll put some play-by-play services on this for your team for X. We'll provide you marketing services. We'll create your media guides. High school hockey in Minnesota is weird. Like, I can't even explain it. It's like a pro game, man. It's like there are 3,000 people at a game I did just last Thursday.
On a
Packed
Thursday.
house. Yeah, packed house. He died in Minnetonka, number one
Wow.
versus number three. Incredible game. The place was popping. It was awesome. So there's media guides, senior banners. They do these big banners for the seniors. I don't know. It's funny. These kids now that they're seniors, it's like they're like princes, and it's like, well, what the hell happened? Everybody graduates basically. You got to be completely not trying to not graduate. So why are they so special? Like, you did it, I did it. Oh, look, we're gonna make a banner. Okay, so we do, and we make money off that too as well. But I was at a game in 2015. I'll never forget it. There are these two dudes there with headsets like what you and I have on. Hey, what radio station you with? Because I started in radio in '89.
Oh,
And I'm
okay.
like, small town KLGR, Super Country 1490, Redwood Falls, Minnesota. A 1 to 3 board shift, sports director. Just unreal. What an experience that was. Racing through the small 2-lane highways to each town to do a basketball or football game is incredible. Anyway, they go, we're not. And they pointed to the ceiling, and there was a camera up there, and it ran itself.
Oh.
I got 3 cameras with me. I'm paying each one of them $75 to run those cameras. They're $3,500 cameras. So, start running the math. I got a director that I'm paying $100 to. I got a color commentator that's getting $50. I mean, I'm out the door for $500 just to make that game happen. And I'm like, how much is that camera? And they're like, I don't know, $4,000. I'm like, God, I'd have that paid for like 3 games. So
Yeah.
I literally step back, Rusty, and I'm like, okay, this has to change. Like, if I want to scale, so I had like 6 teams I was doing this for, and my income was limited because I only had so many production crews and teams, and I could only make so much money. I had a definite ceiling on what I could earn.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I got to get into this game. I got a hold of this company called Pixelot out of Tel Aviv, and really impressive group. They had automated cameras. That's what that camera was. But I couldn't really strike the deals I needed to because they had already hooked up with this company called Game On Sports, which is the National Federation of High Schools. So
Okay.
I couldn't really, the only cameras they would give me with licensing and the camera itself was $30,000 per camera. So we put 3 of those into one building at 90 grand. The Plymouth Ice Center in Plymouth, Minnesota. That was our second building. That wasn't going to sustain. So then we went to this company called Key Motion, and then we went to this company called Spidio out of Sweden. Amazing. The founder of Spidio was one of the co-founders of something called Bluetooth. The
Okay.
the president of their board of governors is the president of Google Europe. They're sourced. They've got Doe. They've got Vision. They've got all of it. So they've put together an incredible tool, which is 4K video. It looks like real TV. It tracks the puck automatically. We have broadcast tools that we link into. I can do it from home. I can do it from the building. So we'll do all of the Michigan Youth State tournaments, 400 games from
Yeah.
home. I've got a battery of announcers that I've got under working with us, and we just assign the games and pop. They just do them from home. They pay us, we do it, and then we also do the pay-per-view. So you're not just making money off the pay-per-view, you're making the money off the announcer services because when we're doing the announcer services, the Michigan Amateur Hockey or Minnesota Amateur Hockey can sell ads to the games, as can we, but they can make money off the ads, and then we do a rev share with them. So it's erupted into,
Whoa.
we had like 290 some cameras out throughout Minnesota, Michigan. Got a couple in Missouri, have some in Boston, not many. Couple in Tampa. Been kind of slow to move those markets. And then our company was just purchased by our largest competitor, who we were like bloody. We were bludgeoning each other, bloodying each other. I mean, this is like awesome. So we get together, and our majority owner said we've been sold, and like everybody else was kind of bummed out. And I'm
Yeah.
like jumping for joy because this group had just raised $100 million to grow the brand. And I'm like, and we were like grinding and gnashing teeth over like buying these cheaters. Like, I mean, come on, So I was jumping for joy, and it's been a month and it's been great. So that's what I've been doing. That's what Nikita said I did best. I'm not saying Nikita was I'm not a robot and he told me what to do. No, but sometimes it takes a friend to maybe make you like do this and see the truth. And I definitely did, and it was awesome, and it's been awesome. So
So,
that's what's going on here.
so with the um, each person doing their own commentary at home, is it audio only, or is everyone having a camera too that I can kind of cut to, and then you have to have a
So
director of some sort?
no, no. So what you do is, so we'll have a camera in the on the wall, or fixated.
Yeah,
I'll pull game A, team A versus team B. I'll pull it up. I'll go into what's called Cloud Studio, and I have a suite of broadcast tools. Within there, if I'm doing it remotely, I get to see the screen real time of what's going on. I can manipulate the screen. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. So if there's a kid down in that corner, I can't quite see the number. I
yeah.
can I can just zoom it in with my fingers, pinch it in, or with the mouse. Good to go. But you, the viewer, don't experience that.
Oh, okay.
I can
Whoa.
I can have video overlays. I can run logo ad bugs. I can run scoreboard ad bugs. There's even a thing they have called storyboard, where I will take a certain number of games, kind of key games, and I can assign them a process of graphics, a locator that says Team A versus Team B from this venue on this date. Look sharp, pops up,
Yeah,
pops down. Starting lineups, boom. Starting lineups, boom. If a player scores a goal, it'll come in and sit there for a second, and it'll come out. Um, I mean, just the power
whoa.
of the tools, and then I can run video commercials before, during, or after the game. So I may do a pregame video. I did this the other day with a couple of coaches. Let's check in with the Edina coach, Kurt Giles. Boom, we play that. Let's check in with Coach Pat O'Leary. Boom, do that. One person does it. The cameras pay for themselves within about 2 to 3 months, honestly, and
Whoa.
uh, it's a blast because I went to a broadcast school, which was here in the Twin Cities, called Brown College, Brown Institute for Broadcasting at the time. It's no longer. And all of the instructors in the radio, TV, broadcast realm were people who worked in the industry. So I go, that's Kevin Connor. Oh my God, that's Dennis Stolhan. Oh my God, look at that. And you just Roy Finden, you know. And so when they opened their mouths, it had value and it meant something. And you would be like, oh, this is how it does. So like if you came to school 1 minute late at 8 o'clock because the show started at 8 in radio studio 1, 2, 3, or 4, you were fired. And you got a 0 for the day, and you had to sit in the corner and like, write stories and do just shit work.
Yeah.
So I was never late. There's still dudes that were late. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how could you be late? Like, I'd be 15, 30 minutes early because but they also would say, you're going to make it, because I loved it and I wanted it. And that's what I did. And I treated it like a job. Um, so for me, I've got a lot of this is interesting, in my stable of 27 announcers. I
Whoa.
would say 2/3 of them are young. They're just
Cool.
out of college. And we have like these specific discussions. Like, I usually sit them down. We're usually at a bar after some games or whatever. And I'll go, so Matt, I know what his goal is. What's your goal? He goes, San Jose Sharks, play by play. I go, really? Sharks? I go, that's very specific. He said, yeah. I go, okay. How many of those jobs are there? He'll say, one. I said, okay. And what on God's green earth makes you think that you're the one? Why is it you? Because you just dreaming it and you want it and you want it and you want it. Or what's just be real? Like, how are you going to get that job? He didn't have an answer. I said, okay, the reality is you could get that job, but the reality is you probably won't. Because either you need to know somebody or you need to be connected somewhere within the organization. I had the same dreams. I wanted to be the Minnesota North Star than the Dallas Stars play-by-play guy. And the reality is the guy that got the Dallas job, I'm convinced I'm better than. I know I am. We worked at the same place here in the Twin Cities, but his dad was close to the owner at the time, Norm Green. I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. I'm just opining and I'm not bitching. I'm just saying that's just how it works.
Yeah.
And so then
It's
you go,
entertainment.
okay, but what do I really like to announce? Clearly, as I'm talking nonstop on this podcast, I think it's yes. Um,
Right.
but I like to tell stories too. And that's what play by play is. And so I'm like, okay, does it matter if it says high school, college, minor, or NHL, or Major League Baseball, or Double A? Do you care? No. Do you want to call games? Do you really want to just call games because you enjoy it? Yes. Okay. You've got every possible game in high school in Minnesota right here where you're at right now, and you can make a living doing it. You can. You'll make more of a living doing this than if you're chasing an East Coast Hockey League around, or a SPHL type team around, or an NAHL team around the country in a bus, hating your life.
Yeah.
So
You're
why
gonna stay
wouldn't
at
you?
home.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that when you have options? And if you do this well, I guarantee you're in the 14th largest market in the country. You now have given yourself an opportunity to be seen and to see. So why wouldn't you do that? And then they all agree. And then there's a whole, and so it's been good. I mean, like I bludgeon them. I say, you
You
know,
should.
if you want to go, don't just go, and you can come back because I wish you all the best. If you do it, I'll bow down. It's awesome. I'm happy for you. Then there's another group of dudes that are like, the other third are like my age
Yeah.
or older. Their kids are all out. They're in college, and they're like, I want to earn an extra 10 to 15 grand a year doing this. And they do. And they're like, this is pretty awesome. And they've all either worked in radio like I did, but you get paid like a nickel in the business because everybody wants to do it,
Yeah.
unless you're like the one main person. And they're like, this is awesome because I can live through what I really, truly like to do. My A job pays the bills. That's great. But this is way better. So I've got this like really cool group of veterans and young and growing talent that has been
Cool.
really, really fun to work with. 100%. So that's the beauty of it.
How are you setting them up together? Or is it like one person per game, or
Single.
is it
Yeah, it's single player, single guys per game, because it's how it's budgeted. We
cool?
charge the teams $200 a game. It's gonna be 225. I charge I pay each guy $90
That's
to do one
awesome.
game. Yeah, I mean it's like 2 hours. A lot of guys get deep into this game prep shit, and
Yep.
I take the sheet of paper. I go, you know what this is? This is nice, but it's a crutch, and I fling it. I said the reality is you got to tell the story of what's going on the ice. That's
Yeah.
what's going on. Now, you need to know what their record is, what their power play and penalty kill is. You can write that down on a sheet of paper and you got it all right there. And I think it's great that they spend that time, but I think a lot of guys in pro sports, and we got a guy that does NHL hockey here, it's just annoys the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Like, we're happy that you did all of this research and data, but I don't give a damn about the numbers. Tell me about the game, and you almost feel like sometimes announcers are trying to shove in these numbers that they research just because they've got to cross them off their sheet because they did the work for the research, but nobody gives
Yeah.
a damn.
Right.
Nobody cares.
And you could probably, if you wanted to, get those numbers too. Just chat GPT them as well and have
Well,
those
as
in.
a viewer, you can look them up.
Right. And yeah, I mean, what's it really going to do? And how's that going to push the game forward with what the.
Tell me what is happening on the playing surface, in the
Yep.
wrestling ring, all of that. Just tell me. Oh, by the way, when I would do color with Mick,
Yep.
with Steel the Main, he booked and he knew everything, right? I didn't want to know anything. I didn't
Beautiful.
want to know.
Jim Ross.
Yeah, I didn't want to know any of it. And when it would happen, it was authentic surprise, and I would love it. And
That's great.
it would put me into the moment a lot better than, if I knew. Now it's okay
Sure.
because you could still foreshadow because you knew what was going on with these two guys because
Yeah.
they've been going for 6 months, because we go once a month. So this is their probably the last match of their feud, so to speak. So
Yeah. And
look how I like circled that all back into
no,
wrestling.
I,
Yeah,
I
did
I
that?
love it. And so is that something? I mean, would that ever be able to be something that could work with wrestling, or would that be too
Oh, I'd love for it too.
difficult?
Well, so we'll start from the basics from amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we can get it done there.
Ooh.
We so it's just a fixed camera on the mat, and it's a really good look.
Yeah.
That works. So, when we get to the level of these cameras where we can do, we'll be able to switch multi-cams within the cloud. So, like I said, everything we do is not connected to any cameras at all. I walk in, my son says this best. He goes, he says this, I'm so proud of my dad. He started this with a vision in 2006. And he used to go to all of these hockey rinks, and he'd have cases and tons of cases and cameras and cords and tape, and we'd get there like at 4:35 for a 7 o'clock game, get out of there at 10, and he would pack it up and do it all over again. Now I walk in with a backpack with this headset and this little Vocaster thing I use, and I just sit down in the press box area, and it's sleek and smooth. So when you're able to have the ability to put multi-cams in a venue, so like let's say I did a thing at Myanmar Arena for
Uh-huh.
wrestling, and let's say I decided that I wanted that to be my home base, I could set up multi-angles there and switch it virtually in the cloud, and not have one camera guy.
Oh. And so then these are attached to different walls, you said?
Walls, ceiling girders. We have a thing called the portable smart cam where you can pop it up. If anybody's kind of curious to what we're talking about, just for, what is this? It's the company's called Spidio. I'm not trying to sell anything, but just kind of research, see what we're talking about. It's spidio.com, SPIID as in dog, EO. Sports video is kind of how they came with the term. And then they have multiple things so they got a replay tool for pro sports and junior hockey. They got a coaching tool. They've got the broadcast tool, and then they've got the viewer product as well. It's super cool. Super cool.
And so then it makes it so did this for like during practice or anything? Do they ever do that where they are able to get, just
Yeah.
have something and then be able to
Yeah.
show
True,
everyone
true
what?
story. Sean Goldsworthy, Minnetonka High School. I was there just covering a practice for an interview, and it was a day. So they played Thursday. The Friday days are kind of more casual because they play Saturday again. And they were going through some sort of power play or penalty kill coverage in their end. He didn't like what he saw and they were recording the practice. So he called everybody over to the bench area, and he pulled out his iPad, and he showed them the 3 in a row that they did bad. And he goes,
Cool.
here, and he was giving him visual feedback. And they goes, okay, you got to go here. You got to go. This is where you're missing the boat. So then he goes, let's go, boys. They go back out. They did another 4 or 5. Perfect. He goes, come on over. And then he pulled them over. He goes, now here was the bad one, and here's the good one. And you can see these guys just like going, they could, if we would have had that as kids, that visual reinforcement to be able to see, because we spatially, when we're playing sports, we think we're there in the spot we're supposed to. We think because it's moving, we're not. And then when you can really see where it is, and then when you can see you made the adjustment, then that locks it in. And I could say that the play here, the majority of the teams on the West Metro are using our coaching tools. Their structure and their play has improved dramatically. And the top 6 teams in the top 10 are all from the city. and they all use the tool. I'm not saying the tool makes them better, but it certainly doesn't hurt. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Those that get it and those that are creative know to absolutely use it into practice, and it's smart. For basketball, they do a lot more of that because a lot more of it's running plays
Yeah.
and things like that. It's funny because hockey isn't much different in that you grab a rebound in basketball and you got to outlet it. Either you're gonna stretch it and you're gonna zing it down the court for a fast break, or in hockey you're gonna run a stretch pass to stretch the ice and get up at the play, or you're gonna slow it down and possess it and under control. Either way, when in hockey, when you enter the blue line, you have an entry, we call it. You have to enter with some sort of a clue as a group. It's not helter skelter, just like here we go. Same
Yeah.
thing when you get into a half court offense, you got to have a clue as to what you're quote setting up. The only difference with hockey is you can't really set it up. You can try to do things that you want to do as a group, and they may take it away, which is different. And it may be that way in basketball. I'm not as versed, but I think that's the similarities are so much so in the sports. It's just the way you score is a little bit different, but it's all the same. And so these tools are
So
used universally really well in each sport.
yeah, and I mean, one just footwork in any of those, just like the slightest thing that can really just change every bit of that right there. And
How about
yeah, that's
this? That Edina High School team I was talking about, my alma mater, by the way. They're
okay.
playing against Wayzata 2 versus 3. Wayzata outshot him 18-2 in the first period. And Edina, the Hornets, could not win a puck battle on the boards or anything. And I was talking to the coach afterwards. I said, from upstairs, from what I could see, what was really fascinating is there were just a couple subtle little things, to your point, Rusty, that maybe it was a shoulder. Maybe they got a shoulder inside on a guy, and that allowed a puck to chip to a space where a guy was that he could take it, and then they had a chance. And then suddenly they had more ice. And then that
Yeah.
started getting reinforced, and they did it more and more and more. And they took over the second period, they took over the third, and then they won 4-1. If you would have said they would have won
Oh,
4-1, it was 0-0 after one. Their goalie was great. But the point was, is you look at the video and you say, you're getting destroyed on your board battles. That game I
r-
told you about earlier, when they were playing the number one team, they were winning their board battles. So you just go back and look at it and say, here you are today. Here you are today. And because they can get them live and in game. And here you were against Tonka. Get back. And then they go back out and they did it. Like, I think that
yeah.
just, because sometimes people freak out about technology, right? It's like,
Sure.
oh, they're so robotic. But I think the proper use of technology, if it's done responsibly, can make things so much better and so much more efficient.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of it. Super cool. And it's great to be a part of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know, because this it seems like it should have been like I don't know. I don't know if who could have thought that up years ago. And I mean,
Well, on the coach tool for Speedio, I'll tell you this. I believe it was the Bluetooth guy. I think he was the one who had a kid who was a high jumper, and he wanted to help him see visual proof of kind of the concept of what we're talking about, of how he could get better. And so then he got a few smart people together and said, I don't want to run the camera. Like, how do we do this? And then, like, we're talking like 2013, 14 era here.
oh,
And
okay.
so they were getting that going and figuring it out. And it's been by far, I've seen all the cameras. Nobody's technology touches theirs. It is incredibly good, and it's allowed us to build a huge network and a niche. And because of it, it allowed us to sell to our largest competitor, who's been unbelievable to work for in this first month. And they're very respectful of the tools that we have, and to understand that there's multiple revenue streams that live within this stuff too, I think is super cool. So if you would have told me when I was in Redwood Falls, Minnesota, and I was driving, the thing we had was called a Marty unit. It was like, I have the KLGR pickup. I'd pull up and I'd take this like long antenna, like it would go up in the air, and
Yeah.
that
As
going too hard
r-
here. I popped that thing up in the air. Sorry about the cough, folks. And it was like I was beaming it back to the radio station. That was technology, I mean, that was amazing. It was just like, whoa. Oh, we used to have these little cartridges. We call them carts that we'd run our radio spots on. And but if you tell me what to get to what we're doing today and the impact it's having on the viewer and also
Yep.
on the player and the game, I would sign up a million times over. It was really hard to get there. A lot of ramen noodle moments for sure.
Sure.
And me getting distracted with wrestling because I loved it and that type of thing. But really, in the end, I wouldn't change a thing because I learned things in business and entrepreneur behaviors through running those shows, which I would say are invaluable. You could go to any school you want to, any business school. You don't learn shit. I
Yep.
mean, you don't. You get a boatload of theory and a bunch of professors who think they know everything, who know nothing, who've owned nothing, not a damn thing. And then you go out there and go, okay, I can own it. No, you can't. You've got to do it, and you've got to get beaten up. You got to get bruised, and you got to choose to either get up or sit down. And if you get up and keep going, that's when you can start doing some stuff. And it's not for some. Some want to have that steady check. They want the man to completely control them, and they don't care. And that's I would say it's a
That,
good chunk of the workforce, and that's cool. It's
that's
not for
them.
me,
That's
dude.
them.
It ain't for me.
Yeah.
Not at
I've
all.
tried that one and
I
didn't
would
go
take
so well.
less. I take less to do it my way.
Yeah, I would too. And I was talking about that yesterday. I was at the okay. I was sitting in the hot tub at the gym. I was
There
talking
you
with the
go.
lifeguard there, and she was telling me the same thing. I was doing something else, could have got that steady check, but I love doing this, and I get to be with my daughter. I think she said her daughter, and it's and then I told her, peace of mind costs a lot of money. Peace of mind isn't free.
Peace of mind isn't free, but it's worth a ton,
Yeah,
and when you have it, it's good. But when you have also the ability to realize goals, visions, and dreams, it's worth even more. I
yeah,
would say to anybody, follow your passion. You gotta, I did this without any money, man. Like,
yeah,
my dad didn't have any money. I mean, he did, but they got divorced
yeah.
and there was none. But the reality is like, you couldn't go, hey, daddy, can you invest in my business? No, no, it just doesn't work that way.
Right.
But
Yeah,
how he got me going. Uh, I said to him, I used to ask him for $10, $20 all the time in like 78, 79 ish. Because I love
yeah,
to go to concerts, wrestling matches, and movies and the drugstore to get treats. Right? What kid didn't?
yeah.
And
Exactly.
that was back in an era when you would go as two buddies. We would get on the bus and we'd go to the Minneapolis auditorium and, go to a match. And we're like, we're 12, and nobody gave us, it's just what you did.
Yeah.
So he pulls out a gas can one day in the spring when I was 12, 78. And he holds it up to me and he goes, hey, kid, here you go. I just invested in your business. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I just bought you a tank of gas. What you need to do is go find some lawns to mow. Well, what do I charge? He goes, well, guys have tried to charge me this, and this. You have to determine what you're worth. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm going over to Carlton Dale's house, the guy next door to me, just a raging drunk, hilarious, great guy, but woo, there's no way he was cutting his grass. So that was my first target, right? So that's
Perfect.
prospecting. I'm like 12. I'm like,
Yeah.
Dale is never going to do his lawn. I'll go get that. So Carlton comes to the door and I go, yeah, do you need help with your lawn? He goes, yeah. I said, he goes, how much? I said, well, I'll do it with no bagging at $5. If I bag it, it's at $7. And if you want me to trim 10, he goes, done, 10. He goes, do you shovel? I go, yeah, I'll shovel. He goes, okay, how much? I looked at his driveway. I go, 10? He goes, done. So then he was my first customer. And then before you know it,
Perfect.
in 2 weeks, I had 17 lawns averaging probably $7 a piece. Think about that.
That's great
Like
for
that's money a
starting that.
12-year-old wouldn't even know what to do with. I mean, that
Yeah.
like $10 then is equivalent to 100 today or
Yeah.
some crazy number. And so I loved that concept that I could actually sell myself and be a little cocky about it. Like, so John Basil up the road, Bays, nah, he has the good gear with his dad worked at Toro. I was pissed about that. He had the good gear. So I had to work against the gear and tell them that I serviced better, that I'll be here always. I don't go on vacations. Yeah, I
Yeah.
played baseball in the summer, but yeah, that was all like real stuff. And that's what started it all. And it never left.
And
I'm grateful for my dad, God rest his soul too, for having, the balls to basically say, leave me the fuck alone. Can I say
yeah.
that?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, leave me the fuck
Yeah.
alone. Get your own damn money and fuck off. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So I did. And it was great. It was perfect.
Yeah, and having that at 12, and then going to school then after that, which is another a whole different group of people that can be, customers, I guess, or clients of whatever. And
Well, and I went to the University of Minnesota and I was going
okay,
to get a communications degree for broadcasting. And I'm sitting there in 2 years taking biology, I'm taking chemistry, I'm taking just these bullshit courses that have nothing to do with reading the news, with
yeah,
doing sports, with speaking. And I'm doing miserably on academic probation, mind you, because the chicks were amazing. I didn't struggle. So in the then and then
yeah,
so I go to my advisor and I'm like, this isn't working for me. Like I don't feel I had I had a Nobel Prize winning journalism or did he win the Nobel? Maybe that or the Pulitzer, whatever. Journalism professor. All he did was talk about himself for every class. And you go, dude, like I don't even know how to I don't even know how to start a story. And he said, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you should go up the road to Brown College, Brown Institute for Broadcasting. That's more for you. It was a trade. And
wow,
I
yeah,
wasn't viewing it as a trade then. And that's what I said. Wow. So I go up there, and Mike Souchere, his brother Joe, is a big media personality here. Mike walks me through, and I'm not even halfway through. I go, where do I sign? And then I signed up right away. I went back to Randy Strobel. You know who Randy Strobel looked like? He
who's
he he looked like the teacher in Beavis and Butthead. Okay, class, it's time for the wonderful world of haiku. Remember that guy?
Van Driesen?
He kind of yeah, he had the hair, just the whole like kind of diminutive body. He talked like that. So I go back into Randy Strobel's office and he goes, I figured as much. Congratulations. Good luck to you. I'm supposed to keep you here. He goes, but I see your passion and what you want to do. And I'm just saying that sometimes whatever people's path is, there's no traditional way to get there because we say as society, you have to have a degree. You have to have, who says? Who says you have to have anything? How about you have
Right,
to have passion, talent, and the ability to get things done and the work
yeah,
ethic and the drive? If you don't have the talent, the ability, work ethic, and drive, you could take all the degrees in the country and throw them away because they're worthless. It doesn't mean you're qualified.
yeah,
Wow.
and
How about that for a rant?
yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I tell people to drop out of school anytime. I wish I could have dropped out of school when I was 16, when it was okay to drop out of school. And I mean, at that
I
time,
wouldn't
yeah,
I wouldn't go that far. Like
I
like
mean, I was
I think
already,
I think at a bare minimum get the damn diploma because everybody
yeah,
does. Like get that. But I would say the next steps, you know what, there's some instances though where college is a really good situation for students because it really forces them to start time management, start structuring their lives, start understanding what bills and payments are and those types of things because maybe they haven't had the like business structure that I had when I was 12.
yeah,
Not everybody has that. So I think it's good. If you want to be an attorney, you need to definitely go and get that education. If you want to be in the medical industry, you need to go and get that education. There are
yeah,
absolutely certain things that you need to do. But I'm just saying, if you want to get into business, like
you got it. Find something.
I would say a business college is all you need because you can get the skills to run the business right there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, a big bonus of the business school is networking and having those people that you work with, or that you're going and learning with. They're going to be a great thing to hire you for whatever job that is to keep that going. And I was just talking about this, like, uh, you go and you go to one of the business schools, and then you start your own company and you need people to work. You go back to that business school, you got a bunch of people that can intern, if that'd be the correct word, and be able to have a feeding system of people just waiting to get in. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was I got into eBay in high school, and like back in the '90s, and when it first kind of hit, and I was selling wrestling tapes, and I got these things. I mean, I was a minor, so I don't know how this really works. I think it's been long enough. Um, but I got this, like, I think it was 13 discs of like little clips of porn. Um, and I just copied those over and just sold those on eBay forever. And that worked out pretty well. That was it. Just, I don't know. Yeah, I've been working since I was like probably around the same age, and I think it's something that's important. It
It
seems
is
like
really important, and experiences matter.
uh-huh.
Experiences matter, and I think if you're willing to take a chance, you either win or lose. I'd rather lose trying.
Yeah, me too. And fucking
You
up
know,
is important.
yeah, 100%, and we all do.
Yeah.
So I've got I hate to do this, but we've been going for
Shoot.
like
Yeah,
90 minutes.
I'm sorry.
I hope people are still watching the show.
They will be.
I hope so.
They're in it like I'm in it. So you have tomorrow night. You have
Oh, that's right. I wanted to mention Steel Domain Wrestling. It's their last event. Mark Koval, the Golden Idol, and
Yep.
Ed Hellier put out a note that this is their last event, that they're folding in the Steel Domain Wrestling, and that kind of brings it full circle from where he kind of, I'm not saying that he ended it, but he was kind of thinking about it way back 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And now they're just basically saying, okay, this is it. And then Midwest All Star Wrestling is going to, according to their note, it's going to carry on some of the legacy of Steel Domain Wrestling and the things that made it so special. I would argue that Steel Domain Wrestling has been one of the top indies in its time, no question.
Really?
Um, did it become a developmental league like some? No. But did it produce insane talent that are all on those rosters? Yep. Uh,
Yep.
did a lot of the guys go through there? Yes. Was Ace Steel, Cole Cabana, Adam Pierce, all of those guys absolutely tantamount in making it happen? 100%.
Yeah.
Super cool vibe there. Ed runs a great promotion. I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow night.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that'll be a lot of fun. That's a hell of a run. Hell of a run. And once it's time to go, it's time to go. And there's nothing wrong with that.
97 or 98 is when they started, something like that. St. Paul Championship Wrestling. Then
Yeah.
that's when Ace Steel and the group said, you know what, Steel Domain Wrestling, you want it? And Ed took it over, and it became its own animal, which was just awesome.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I hope you get to enjoy that tomorrow night. And I know, yeah, you got to get going. And I
I
kept you
do.
way longer than I said I would. So um, sorry about that. And yeah, so where are people going to find you or work with you or whatnot here?
People can find me at mnhockey.tv.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
that's where my stuff is. And it's like an absolute playground of hockey product. If anybody wants to check out the high school scene, we've got a lot of the big section playoffs coming up in about a month. Those do huge numbers. They're really entertaining. So to get a good vibe, just go to mnhockey.tv, check it out. Just spin around and see what we got. We got some free highlights down there for people to check out too. So it's been a fun run for sure.
Excellent. Okay. Hey, thank you so much for being on, Pete.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to see you again, and yeah, best of luck tomorrow. All right.
I'm looking forward to. We'll have to follow up on that sometime.
Yeah, I'll get you back here in a few months if you're up for it.
I had a blast. So thank you.
Perfect. Me
Okay,
too.
buddy.
All right.
Take care.
All right. You too.
Thanks.
Bye. All right. Oh, there we go. That's Pete Waggoner. So yeah, great guy. I enjoyed working with him when I was in Minnesota. He brought me on. Some fucking dude out of Portland moves to Minnesota and like, hey, can I work here? And he brought me on, and I'm thankful for him. And it was great just to meet him and hang with him and call matches with him. So thank you everyone for being here and listening. Check out Pete. And yeah, that's what you should do. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.